Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marques show. My name is Marques Ogden. On today's episode, we are joined by Mr. Jim Matuga. But before we bring up Jim to the stage, I want to thank one of our amazing sponsors and partners. We want to thank iFlip Invest, owned by Mr. Randy Tate. iFlip Invest is a software platform that allows you to invest in the market and pay only $7 a month. And your choices that can be driven to help you invest are powered by AI. We thank iFlip Invest and Mr. Randy Tate for sponsoring this episode. Now, here he is. Jim, how you doing today, Jim?
Marques, thanks for having me on your program today. I appreciate everything you do and the value that you bring to your audience. I'm doing great.
I appreciate Good, my friend. I love that. Jim, first question, sir. What does the word authentic/authenticity mean to you?
Yeah, to me, it just means being real. Showing your soft underbelly, even as a leader. We got to be authentic. We got to be real to our people that we come in contact with. That's what I think of when I hear you talk about authenticity. That's what I think. Be real. Let's get real, Marques.
You know what, Jim? I love that. And I hope everybody got the same thing I got from that segment. Show your soft underbelly. Show who you are at your truest and rawest form. Because at the end of the day, who you are more than enough. But you have to understand and have courage to know that who you are and that you are more than enough is not something that you're just saying all the time. I have a client, right, Jim? And I tell her, you have been working with me now for almost a year. You have all the skills. You have all the talent, but you're not believing in yourself and you're stuck in this comfort zone and you just won't break out of it. And I tell her every time she just steps even a little bit of a pinky toe out of the comfort zone, right, Jim? Greatness hits her.
Yeah.
Greatness hits her. So again, I love what you're saying. So Jim, tell us more about yourself and who you are and what you do and how you help people in that regard.
Absolutely. Well, Marques, thank you again for the opportunity. I'm coming to you from the great state of West Virginia, Morgantown, West by God, Virginia, is how we say it sometimes around here. And I've lived in Morgantown for a number of years since the early 1980s. I went to school for advertising and journalism, and now in 2025, I own a marketing agency. We're getting ready to start our 25th year, our 15th year in business here in 2025. And I lead a team of really great creative people, marketers, advertising experts, video producers, and we just go out, and our job at InnerAction Media is to take our talents and abilities to go out there in the world and bless people with our talents and abilities and bring our work to the people. And that's what we do as a marketing agency: video, website development, digital, traditional, and social media content strategies and advertising. So that's what we do. But mostly, I'm really pumped up and excited right now for the release of Humble Influence. That's my latest book. And it's about the idea of not just leadership, but celebrating and equipping people to be great followers. I believe, Marques, that without great followers, we can't have great leaders, and everything rises and falls on great leadership. But if we don't have great followers, we just don't have great leadership.
What's very interesting, Jim, is I talk about leadership from a very interesting perspective, a lot like what you're saying. And I tell people servant leadership is serving a cause that is greater than yourself. So I think of people like Dr. King, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Rosa Parks. These are people that served a cause greater than themselves. And what I love about you, Jim, actually, I love about what you're talking about is you said it best. If we don't have great leadership that is out there taking care of those people that are in their charge, then the people that are trying to better themselves or move forward or gain ground and become better human beings, they struggle because they're looking for someone to help guide them to that North Star and beyond. So,
Yeah.
Jim, I'd love to hear from you. We'll get into your awesome book. How do you try to talk about leadership and get people inspired, right, Jim, to know that they can also be great leaders, but they also have to learn how to listen and be a great servant leader at the same time?
Yeah, I think it's a great perspective, Marcus, and I appreciate the question. I think, when I say everything rises and falls on great leadership, that's a John Maxwell quote, and I'm a big fan of John Maxwell. I've gotten to work with him over the past several years, and he's an inspiration for me. And actually, one of the books that inspired this is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And when I think of great leaders, just like the people you just mentioned, Dr. King, Mother Teresa, I had an opportunity to spend some time in Calcutta, India years ago, and got to meet Mother Teresa's successor. And when I think about great leaders, they have to equip the people that they lead, and equipping them not just to be great leaders, but to be great followers. And what I've learned over the last 18 years of putting this book together, there's a roadmap that we can follow. There are certain traits and characteristics that make people a great follower. And I think what I've struck a chord when I'm talking about this on podcasts and shows just like yours, Marcus, is that it's kind of flipping a script a little bit and saying, look, being a follower is not a subservient role. It's not a less than role. It's not an inferior role. Followers and people that are, following a leader are just as important to the overall mission accomplishment as the leadership themselves. And I think you could agree that you've seen it time and time again. I was inspired, and I hope you don't mind me speaking a little bit about my faith. I'm a
Of
person of
course.
faith. I'm a Christian, and as I was doing research for the book, one of the stories that stuck out to me was the story of Simon Peter and Andrew. They were two brothers. They were fishermen, and they were on the Sea of Galilee one day, and they were fishing. And I'm a fisherman, so I can kind of relate. They probably had a bad day on the water, didn't didn't haul in what they were expecting to, and Jesus himself walks up to them and says, "Lay down your nets and follow me. Come follow me. I'll make you fishers of men." And those words, the invitation of "come follow me," set the course for thousands of years of discussion about this whole story. And these were the first two apostles that were called by Jesus to be followers. And I think about that on a not just a biblical level, but on a practical level. Like, these guys let down their nets. It says in the Bible that they let down their nets immediately. They cast them down, laid them down, and became followers. And I think how often, we're in a workplace situation. It might be with a nonprofit or a company or a corporation or a small business, and we're trying to get behind the leader, and we just don't even know what to do. But when we have that invitation to come follow, if we just kind of surrender to that and say, okay, I'm here, this is where I am, I have talent and ability and skills, and I can grasp into something, I can hook into that something that servant leader is talking about, and I can align with that. Let's go. Let's see what we can do together. I believe, Marcus, that most people don't want to be leaders. I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people about this topic, and they say, you know what? I like the job that I do. I just want to be better at following the leader. How do I do that? Well, part of it has to be that servant mindset that you just talked about. It's very important with followers too. You have to have that as like the basis. Say, okay, I definitely want to let down my guard, surrender to the mission here. Let's go. I'm in this role. I don't want to necessarily be the leader, but I want to have an impact. I want to find purpose in my work. And that's the beginning of it right there.
Wow, great segment, especially about, of course, I'm a person of faith as well, always
Yes.
have
Amen.
been. And again, right, Jim? This is the whole purpose. And Ben, our producer, was talking about this on an interview before this awesome episode.
Mm,
We are as authentic as they come, right? So if someone talks about
mm,
like their faith or this or that,
Yeah.
it's all good in my book. As long as you're not talking about negativity, disparaging someone, or being, mean or bullying somebody, which you can pretty much say anything you want on our podcast, because it's all about people's real life story. It's
Yes.
your perspective. It's who you are. And I love it because at the end of the day, once people learn to surrender when they don't know something, or let go of something that you really don't have any control over. Being a leader doesn't mean you have to control everything. I actually believe being a leader is actually letting go of control and supporting those that are in your charge. And I love people telling me, man, Marsh, I want to be a leader. I'm like, okay, that's great. Awesome. Why? Well, I want to call the shots. I want to do this. I want to do that. So you want to be a leader. You want to call the shots. Am I hearing that right? Well, yeah, that's that what leader is, right? Well, actually, no. Don't you call the shots? Like, absolutely not. Like, I literally want to entrust my team to call the shots, to do what
Yes.
they need to do, to back them up. And so if
Mm,
something goes right, they get all the credit. Something goes
mm,
wrong, I take the blame. Like we had that happen yesterday.
mm.
Someone got sent a double message about being on a podcast and about booking for a show. And I said to them, I said to the guy, I said, hey man, I'm so sorry. That's my fault, my error. We have a new system up and running, and we forgot to check it, and that's totally my fault. You're all set for your interview in October. See you soon. He said, Marques, love your honesty, love your authenticity. I know you didn't do it, but I love the way you stood up for your team. And that's what
Mm.
I feel leadership's all about, Jim. But Jim,
Yes.
before we get to your book, okay, let's talk about something that you said. The very last word you said in the last segment:
Mm,
purpose.
mm.
Purpose. I believe when purpose and passion align, greatness is on the horizon.
Yeah.
But sometimes people get so caught up in the end result, they don't want to find out what their purpose is, and they're trying to get to the end result. That's a great saying, right, Jim?
Yeah.
Everybody wants greatness, but very few people want to pay the invoice.
Yeah. Yep. I say it all the time, Marcus. Most people want the fire. Few want to chop the wood.
Boom. So, Jim, talk about how you help people with your words, with your leadership style, with your book, really identify and find their purpose to start themselves on the path to greatness.
Yeah. So I think my leadership style is a hybrid, Marcus, of two things. One is book smart. So I'm a student of leadership, and so I'm constantly ingesting leadership content, whether it's a podcast, a book, it might be a blog post, or watching a show like yours to get some insight, some inspiration for that day. Okay, constantly. And then the other part of my leadership style is by example. And you know this, Marcus, being a leader yourself, but and I would argue, and I would throw this little caveat in, being a faith-based leader is even more of this, what I'm about to talk about, but people watch us. We're under the microscope as a leader. And so when we're talking about things, we've got to actually do what we're saying to do. So I can take all the book wisdom and everything, and I could talk about that to my team, or maybe I'm coaching my Miracle League baseball team. That's a leadership position, okay? Or maybe I'm on a volunteer board and I'm a leader on that board, or maybe I'm on my church board as a chairperson or whatever. I'm leading, but I also have to be accountable to my actions. When you talk about authentic, when I said it's about getting real, that's what I'm talking about, right? Because we're talking about authenticity. You've got to live the life that you're preaching. So it's a combination of my leadership style is a combination of book smart and wisdom, but also living it and actually being accountable to my own actions. And I believe that we are all leaders at some point, right? So we start by leading ourselves. Then maybe we go down and we're leading our family. Maybe it's a spouse, or maybe it's a spouse with children, or maybe a hybrid family, or maybe we're leading our dog. Okay. Some people have a pet and they're leading, but then we're also leading our customers, our clients, if we're in business. We're also leading other teammates. team members in our company or our organization. Then I even say, we're out there leading in our community. Maybe you're an advocate. Maybe you're a community leader on a board or a nonprofit like a Rotary Club or a BNI or something of that nature, a Chamber of Commerce. So we're always in these multiple roles. But while we're at once leading, I feel like we're also at once following. So even the top leaders are following something or somebody. And that's the genesis of the book, Humble Influence, is that like we have to be humble, we have to be authentic and real. We have to understand what our position and what our role is, and that multiple roles often exist. We're both leading and following.
Jim, love that segment. Ladies and gentlemen, leadership doesn't mean you stop learning, right?
That's
Leadership means you understand that is a responsibility to take care of those in your charge. And I tell you all the time, responsibility is a promise that you make to others to help them achieve greatness. Accountability is an internal promise you make to yourself to do what you know is necessary to achieve what you want in life. If you're a leader and you're not accountable, you're not really a leader. You're a pretender. Because accountability is something where, like me, right, Jim? I work out 6 days a week. I run 3 days a week. It's non-negotiable. Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, 2.5 to 3 miles run plus my lift, right? Basketball Thursdays, boxing on the Fridays. There are no excuses along this journey. Exactly. So I'd love to hear more about your book. Like, tell people more about what they can expect to read from this awesome. I love the title because at the end of the day, if you're not humble, I heard this great thing today with Snoop Dogg. I was on my cousin sent me a video that he made and had Snoop Dogg's, like a voiceover. Snoop said, do these 3 things: stay humble, stay hungry, stay you. And I love that because so many people, he said, right, Jim? He says what he said. He said, so many people out here are trying to be copies. We have enough copies. Be an original.
Yeah. And putting yourself out there, Marcus, is sometimes difficult to do. Okay. And the things that you were talking about, the discipline, the Bible says no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful, but yet it will yield a harvest of righteousness for those who are trained by it. So think about discipline. That's what you're talking about. By the way, I would love to borrow your biceps sometime. Those guns are like anacondas, man. They're great. But Marcus,
that was good. That was good.
Listen, seriously, my thing is like, and I said this just a minute ago, but we all lead somebody, even if it's ourselves. And sometimes that's the most important leadership we can have. Leadership position is leading ourselves, having discipline, having courage. Like your issue with encouraging your client to get out of her comfort zone. I mean, that's where the magic happens. When you get out of that little shell, that's where, like you said, excellence and brilliance happens. You got to push yourself, but you can't do it if you're not leading yourself in that manner. So yeah, I think that you and I are very similar in mindset, and I really appreciate that, and I love you for that, man. That's great stuff.
I love it, Jim. So, Jim, something I want to talk about now, and you said this, and I'm big on this, and I really believe that it's somewhere in Humble Influence, and you can reference that here in a moment. I tell you all the time, if you want to be great, have discipline over dedication. Dedication, doing what you like to do to get the results you want. Discipline, doing what you hate doing to get the results that you want. Jim, I'm a former NFL offensive lineman. I absolutely hate running to a T. I do not like it. I hate it. But I do it because it is needed to help me lose weight, feel better. It's funny, right, Jim? I've got a pretty bad hip. But I've noticed, Jim, in the last, probably the last 2 to 4 weeks, I've been doing it now for about 4 months of running. I've lost a good amount, probably about 30 pounds, right, Jim? But I can feel my hip just getting a little bit better every day. It's not good, but it's getting a little bit better every day. And I feel like the more weight I'm losing, my hip is starting to be able to move a little bit better. I don't have much weight on my joints. But my point is, Jim, I tell people all the time, you gotta be disciplined
Yes.
We're dedicated. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Right. So, yeah, it's not meant to be easy. Great things are not easy. And there's a big disconnect, I think, in today's society with mediocrity and excellence. Right. You're a person of excellence. I aspire to be a person of excellence. I want people around me in my life that are people of excellence, not mediocrity. And you know what the thing is? Mediocrity and excellence cannot coexist in an organization, because they despise each other, right? The people of excellence, there's almost a resentment. Okay, wow, look at them. They got the nice car. They're doing all these things, but oh, look at this person. They're not doing anything. And so there becomes this resentment. So I aspire to encourage people to become people of excellence, have discipline, you know, uh, have that as a mindset. I would also argue, Marcus, that just in your conversation there about your own personal desire, you're speaking it into existence. Just the fact that you're saying, I'm moving and my hip's getting better. I'm feeling it improve day by day. You're speaking that into existence. If you have these negative mind thoughts and don't have a mind shift towards positivity, you're going to be like, I don't think this is working. Well, guess what? Then it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not going to happen. But if you're speaking it into existence, there's power in that. There's power in that.
Yeah, this has been a fantastic interview. I just have one more question.
Yeah.
What is one big takeaway that our audience that ends up buying Humble Influence can expect to gain from reading your awesome book?
Well, thanks, Marcus. I appreciate that. And what I would say is I'm trying to dispel the myth that followership is second class, less than, subservient. Those aren't the words that we need to be thinking about being a great follower. Followership is about humility, curiosity, asking questions, having courage, being loyal, having proactivity in your daily routine, and even things like observation, like understanding what's going on around you. How could you be a part of it as opposed to fighting it? Be part of the solution.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's all about when a problem gets presented, how can you go about trying to solve it? If you are someone that looks at problems and, oh, another problem, oh, this, all that, and you're in a negative mindset, as Jim referenced, it'll always be just that negative, Debbie Downer, always criticizing yourself, never good enough. And we got to get out of that mind frame. We got to get into a place of purpose and passion and inspiration. I always tell people, be disciplined. Discipline crushes motivation every single time. So you gotta have discipline in that regard. Jim, great interview. How can our audience get in touch with you, purchase your book, or find out more about you in general?
Yeah, the book is easy. It's humbleinfluencebook.com. It's available on all the major platforms. And I would encourage people, if they get some wisdom out of it, leave a nice review. That helps us. And my company's InnerActionMedia.com, INNERACTION media, MEDIA.com. And would love to help anybody out there that I can. Love to talk to folks and, answer questions they might have or whatever. However, I can add value to help them become not only a great follower, but a great leader.
Ladies and gentlemen, please reach out to Jim, connect with him, purchase his book, support him. He and I have a lot of similar views on leadership, discipline, how to help others, how to take care of people that are in your charge. And all these things are huge to help you get where you want to go in life. Again, we want to thank our awesome sponsor, Mr. Randy Tate of iFlip Invest, for sponsoring this episode. And the authentic tip of this great interview: in life, please learn how to surrender and learn how to allow others to take the lead as a leader or just a human being in general. It's so important. We don't know everything. The human mind was not designed to know everything, right? It's designed to know a lot of things, but not everything. So please be an individual that can surrender and allow others to take the lead, and that will help you become a better human being, a better person, and a better leader. Again, my name is Marques Ogden. I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marques show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.